Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Richard Amadeus Harris III. In this video, I'm going to show you how to find assignments, also how to search and upload peer-reviewed journal articles. First things first, our homepage looks a lot like this. So there are 4 easy ways to find how to submit the assignments. So since this assignment is to find peer-reviewed journal articles, that's exactly what we're going to focus on. From the home page, if you look on the right-hand side, there's the to-do section. Down over here, you'll notice where it reads peer-reviewed journal articles. So that's the first way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that item, that link, and pop it open. Here's the tab for the actual assignment, and I'll go into that in a few moments. The second way is to open up the modules. So if you go to modules, I have created a module at the very bottom of the course for direct links for the research paper. So I'm going to open up the modules and scroll to the very bottom. Once the page downloads completely, you'll see that the link is right here to submit the peer-reviewed journal articles. So that's the second way. The third way is to select the syllabus. Also, for future reference, whenever an assignment has a due date in Canvas, it'll populate at the very bottom of the syllabus. So I've selected syllabus, scroll down to the very bottom, and here's the assignment right here. The fourth way is by checking the calendar. Here's the calendar. So I'm going to select the calendar. You may recall that the due date is November 1st. We saw that on the syllabus and also on the other links. So since my calendar currently reads October, I cannot see it. So I'll move over to the next month, November, and here is the actual assignment. I'll click on this link right here. Here's the description of the assignment. And if I want to open up the tab, then I'll select the name of the assignment right here. So here's the assignment. So this is the fourth way. So for this assignment, I'm expecting at least 3 peer-reviewed journal articles submitted to me. Here is a file explaining the difference between a peer-reviewed journal article and a non-peer-reviewed journal article. Peer-reviewed journal articles are academic. They're extremely plain, data-driven, and to the point. So here are some examples of some characteristics of peer-reviewed journal articles. Non-peer-reviewed journal articles, those are most of the sources in which we may find floating around that you may see on television, in periodicals, and so forth. So let's say that our research question is, what is the impact of attending school for poor minority children in urban areas? If we simply take this question and type it into Google, let's see what results we find. More than likely, most of these sources will be non-peer reviewed. Okay, I'll open up this tab right here. This other tab right here. This other tab, and we'll scroll down to open up this tab. Let's take a look. So this first article, or at least source, is from the National Center for Education Statistics. It has a lot of information, some graphs, and I will say at this point that it's somewhat questionable. We're unsure. This next source from Science Daily has some information on it, as expected. At the same time, you may notice that there are some links over here to share the information using social media. And on the right-hand side, we have more links to other articles. Kind of flashy. This article right here from The Atlantic has images, links to other stories where we could share it using social media, etc. This last source right here from RTI Action Network appears to have some decent data. At the same time, there are several links that are surrounding this source. Those four, I would say, are non-peer reviewed sources. Peer-reviewed sources are the type of sources I'm expecting from all of you. And to find these sources, we would use the school library database. So you can go to Chabot's homepage and start to search around. Or you could just click this link right here, which I have provided for the library database. It's purely up to you. So if you do choose this link, then I strongly suggest to use Academic Search Complete. That link will lead us to the database. Since I am off campus, as most of us probably are, you have to enter your credentials, which is your W number and a password. Actually, it's slightly different, in which you would need your PIN, the same PIN that you use for a class web. So I'm going to log in. Once I'm logged in, now I'm inside of the school's database. I'll review my research question and I'll look for many of the keywords to insert into the search fields. So I'll type in impact, okay. Let's see, school for children. One more, we'll go with urban areas. All right, so we have these four fields. I'm going to scroll down and I want the full text, of course. And I'll also choose scholarly peer-reviewed journal articles. That is one way we can filter to yield scholarly academic sources. So now I'm going to search and see what we find. Oh boy. Okay, so there are around 4,500 sources. Skimming through these articles, I can see that these are global sources. My plan is to open up another field and focus on just the United States. So now search again to narrow and refine our search. Fantastic. Okay, so now we're down to around 3,400 sources. At the same time, some of these sources appear to be global. At this point, I'm going to begin to scroll down this tab and look for articles that I think interest me. And when I say interest me, I'm just going to glance at the title, a little bit of the description to make a determination. As I look down at these articles, if the article title has nothing to do with my research question, which I still have here, I'm going to ignore it. Mind you that I'm ignoring any of the articles that are outside of the United States. This article right here may be relevant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click the PDF full text version of the source and open it up in a new tab. I'm going to keep this tab open so I can use it as my search tab. That article looks like it may be interesting. A lot of these articles are outside of the United States, so I'm going to ignore them. Now, some of you may ask, are those other articles that are outside of the United States even relevant? Well, it depends on my question. If I'm focusing on only the United States, then no. If my research question is asking about comparing different groups, then it may be relevant if they're in my population. If they're not, then no, it won't at all. Okay, I think I'll stop right here for now. So now I have 5 potential articles. So as I select the first article, this is peer-reviewed. So comparing the peer-reviewed articles with the non-peer-reviewed articles, you may notice how these articles are non-flashy, academic, and focus on data. As I look at this first article, what I want to do is look for an abstract. The abstract is at the beginning of the articles and it summarizes the entire article. As I read through this abstract, if the information here is pertinent or relevant to my research question, then I'll download it. If the article is useless for my question, I would simply ignore it. So let's say with this article right here, I would say, actually, no, I'm not going to use it. The reason why I say that is as I've actually just quickly glanced or read over to find that this article right here is based on Australia. So I'm not going to use it at all. This next article right here, I'd read through the abstract. Okay, if it's useful for me, then I would download it. Since I'm using Google Chrome, I drag my mouse to the upper right-hand corner and you see these images right here. Print, download, reload. So I'm going to download. Once I download the file, download it to my desktop, save it, I'm good to go. I'm gonna close the tab. Now, let's say hypothetically, you encounter an article and it does not have an abstract. The next step is to read the introduction. Those are the first 2 paragraphs for or in the journal article. And once you read the introduction, you can make a determination whether or not you want to keep the article. Another option would be to scroll at the end of the article and look for the results or the discussion section. Read the discussion section, the results, the conclusions, and make a determination whether or not you want to keep the article or not. If you do, then drag your mouse to the upper right-hand corner and download the source. Here's another article right here. Let's see, is this helpful to answer my research question? No. Is this article useful for my research question? A little bit. Now, as you review your research question, it is highly unlikely that you'll find one single resource that will fully answer your research question, which is completely fine. If you can find some sources that somewhat answer your question, or even somewhat answer part of your question, that is completely acceptable. So for this research question, I have my articles. So now it's time to submit the files. I scroll back up to the top of the assignment, choose Submit Assignment. Now a window pops open down at the bottom for me to attach the files. So I'm going to choose the file, find it in here somewhere. There we go, on my desktop. That's a nice place. I'm going to attach one file. Fantastic. I'm going to attach the second file. And then I'll attach the third file. And then lastly, I will submit the assignment. At this point, the PDFs are being uploaded. Once the PDFs are fully uploaded, then I'm done for now. Sometimes someone would ask, do I need to summarize the sources? At this point, no, summarizing the resources are unnecessary. If anything, the goal is for us to find some usable sources to attempt to answer our research question. So that is what I'm looking for. If anyone has any questions, then by all means, feel free to contact me anytime whatsoever. Thank you.